What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper, and I wanted to just do a video update to my last video, practical versus tactical. So I wanted to just clarify a couple of things because I got some negative responses from that video, and there were some people that were really offended by my video and my opinions on certain things. So I'm just gonna explain some things that I didn't really explain in that video because a lot of people think that I'm somehow anti-AR-15 and that I sounded like I'm against AR-15s and that I sound like an anti-Second Amendment or something. I'll just give you a little bit of a background on how long I've been shooting and how long I've been a Second Amendment supporter. So the first gun I ever shot was in 2001, so 19 years ago. That was a 45-70 rifle, which my father bought me when I was a teenager. That was my first hunting rifle. I spent years and years hunting. When I was younger, I was obsessed with hunting. When I was a teenager and in my college years, I explored all the wilderness areas in upstate New York. I spent a lot of time hunting. So I have a pretty extensive experience with, firearms and shooting, and it's not something that, I just started doing a year ago or 5 years ago. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been shooting a long time. I've shot all kinds of weapons, revolvers, semi-autos, big bores, shotguns. I've done all kinds of hunting, big game, small game, bird hunting. I've done a lot of different things, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant or brag or anything. I'm just trying to give you guys a bit of my background so you understand that I'm not some kind of anti-gun person. Just because I criticize the tactical craze doesn't mean that I'm against tactical weapons and I'm against AR-15s. Okay, AR-15s are great, but they have a very specific purpose. And what I was trying to say in that video was that you don't necessarily need an AR-15 to protect yourself and protect your family now or during an SHTF situation, okay? For decades, people have defended their homes with pump-action shotguns that had a brass bead on the front or a good old-fashioned .357 revolver. Those have stopped many bad guys way before weapon-mounted lights came out, way before reflex sights came out, way before red dots came out, way before foregrips and angled, the angled foregrips came out, way before, all that kind of stuff came out. People were stopping bad guys with a regular pump-action 12-gauge and with a bead sight on it and a basic .357 revolver. Those firearms have stopped a lot of bad guys, okay? So now does that mean that an AR-15 is not better than those firearms in certain situations? Of course, okay? You have bigger capacity, you have magazines that you can quickly reload. You don't have to feed shells in or feed cartridges into a revolver cylinder. You can quickly swap the magazine out and you have 30 rounds ready to go. Of course that's better in certain situations, but what I was trying to say was that just because you can't get an AR-15 or because, like, for me, I live in New York State and there's a lot of restrictions on AR-15s, and pretty much it makes it not even worth it to own an AR-15 here because there's so many restrictions that it basically makes the AR-15 very anemic or watered down, to the point where, it's still an AR-15, but you can't have a muzzle brake, you can't have a suppressor, you can't have a folding stock or expandable stock. Magazine capacity can't be more than, I think, 7 now, or I don't know if it's 7 or 10. But, you can't be in possession of a magazine that has more than 10 rounds, or you could be facing a felony charge. So, because of that, I guess, in my opinion, I've never really been a huge... I don't have a lot of AR-15s or things like that because of where I live. And I always focused more on other weapons that would be a good substitute. And having a hunting background, I always focused more on hunting weapons, you know, and weapons that can do more than just one thing, that can not just protect my house, but also I can hunt with, you know. So that's kind of my background, but it doesn't mean that I'm against AR-15s. It just means that I believe that you don't need all that extra fancy crap that people push these days, you know, like the IR lasers and the foregrips, the angled foregrips, you know, those 45-degree angled foregrips that you see on the AR-15 with the Picatinny rail. They put the angled foregrips. That's like the new, you know, popular thing nowadays, the stick grip, you know. The EOTechs and the aim points, the reflex sights, you know, the Trigicon RMRs, and all those types of things, you know, the weapon mounted lights. I mean, those things are great. Okay, don't get me wrong. When they work, they're great, okay, but they're electronic and they can fail. And anything electronic can fail. And you know, ask any dangerous game hunter, any guy that hunts in safaris or bear guides, you know, when they go hunting, they don't even have a scope. They just have iron sights, because if a bear charges out of the brush at 25 yards, they want to make sure that there's nothing that's going to go wrong, okay? And the same thing can be true for a defensive situation, which is why I actually recommend iron sights for pistols and shotguns, is to always have iron sights for close quarters firearms, okay? Because iron sights will never fail. There's no batteries that can drain. There's no washing out of the red dot. You know, there's no parallax issues. You know, an iron sight is always going to work, even if you drop it. If you know, you don't have to worry about batteries or something going wrong with the circuitry and messing up the dot, you know, and things like that. So what I was trying to say was that, yeah, you know, it's great to have a AR-15 in, you know, with a EOTech and a flip to the side magnifier and an IR laser with some NVGs on. Of course, that stuff is really cool and awesome, all right? And if you can afford it, great, you know, get yourself some of that stuff, okay? But what I'm saying is, for the average person who doesn't have thousands of dollars to waste on gadgets, all right, the average person is better off with simple, basic firearms and focusing on the basics first, you know, rather than jumping into all these advanced things like IR lasers, flip to the side magnifiers, you know, reflex sights, you know, stick grips and vertical grips and angled grips and folding stocks. You know, the average person is better off with a basic AR-15, maybe in a .308 caliber, so that could be used for hunting as well. Maybe with a conservative, you know, moderate length barrel, 18-inch barrel or 20-inch barrel. You know, with a basic stock, you can have a folding stock if you like. And just, you know, flip up iron sights and a good low or medium power scope, okay, with some illumination on the scope, on the reticle. That's for the average person out there, okay? You don't need thousands of dollars in all these accessories, okay? Just basic flip up sights, you know, a good solid AR-15 from a reputable company with a, you know, long enough barrel where you're going to get enough velocity out of it. Don't focus on, you know, AR pistols and 10-inch barrels and all that kind of stuff, okay? Those are great for close quarters, okay? But if you want something that's going to serve you in multiple situations, you want something that has a little bit longer barrel. For example, an 18-inch barrel or a 16-inch barrel is a good compromise between velocity and accuracy and maneuverability. Okay, with an 18-inch barrel, you can still maneuver through a house or through close quarters. You know, you don't have to go all the way down to a 12-inch barrel. Okay. You know, and it's always better to stay conservative with things that have withstood the test of time. Don't rely on electronics and gadgets, okay, and focus on the basics. That's what I was trying to say, is people need to learn the basics first. You have to learn how to walk before you can run, okay? You know, there's a lot of people now with all this tactical stuff on YouTube. You know, there's a lot of people out there that have no clue about the basics of shooting, basic fundamentals of marksmanship, the 7 fundamentals of marksmanship, all right? That's the starting point, okay? The starting point is the 7 fundamentals of marksmanship, learning some basic shooting stances and shooting positions, okay? You don't have to get into all this advanced, you know, Navy SEAL SWAT team type stuff, okay? You need to learn the basics, and the basics will get you very far, okay? And then once you master the basics, then you go into the advanced stuff, okay? Once you've already learned the basics and you can shoot do basic things, all right, that's when you can consider taking a tactical training course and spending maybe $1,000 to have a Army Ranger or Navy SEAL or Delta Force guy teach you some tricks that he learned overseas, okay? That's a great idea, but for the average person, they need to learn the basics first before they start getting into all that advanced stuff, all right? So that's kind of the message that I was trying to convey. It wasn't that AR-15s are bad and accessories are bad. I wasn't saying that, okay? Accessories are great, AR pistols are fine, but you don't necessarily need all that crap in order to defend your family, okay? A basic 12 gauge shotgun with a bead sight and a .357 revolver can do pretty much anything that a Glock or an AR-15 can do at, you know, home defense distances of 25 yards or less. All right, you're not going to be getting into a firefight if somebody breaks into your house. All right, now if we're talking SHTF, that's different. You know, so that's kind of what I was trying to say. I'm not anti-AR-15 or anything, but people need to learn to walk before they can run. And, you know, you have to put the work in yourself and learn yourself, all right? Even if you take a tactical training course, you have to spend your own time at the range, okay? It's just like people that get personal trainers and they hire a personal trainer and they think that if they spend all this money, the personal trainer is going to transform their body. It doesn't work that way. The personal trainer is going to guide you and show you exercises and set up your routine, but you have to put in the work yourself, okay? And, you know, there's no magic bullet. You know, we live in a time where people want a magic bullet, they want a magic pill, and there's no such thing, okay? In order to be a good shooter, you have to spend hours and days and years shooting and training and studying the art of shooting and the art of you know, firearms and marksmanship, all right? These are things that are not learned in one weekend in a tactical training course, okay? You have to put the work in yourself. You have to do your own research. You have to spend hours at the range practicing over and over. You have to learn ballistics and test your firearms, all right? These are things that you have to do first before you get on into the advanced, you know, aspects of shooting, okay? So that's what I wanted to mention, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So I hope this video clarified anything that's, you know, people were wondering if I was against AR-15s, and I'm definitely not. I think they're awesome. I just think that there's a lot of different platforms that'll work just as fine, and you don't need all those accessories, you know, the crap. Get that crap off your rifles. Keep it simple, okay? The more crap you have, the more stuff that's gonna break, all right? Just have a basic AR-15, 18-inch barrel, you know, .308 caliber with some good iron sights and a low power scope, all right? You don't need IR lasers. You don't need magnifiers flipping to the side. You know, you don't need a single point sling or folding stock. You know, all this stuff, it's more things that can break and fail when you need them the most, okay? Simple is always better. The more complicated something is, the easier it is for it to break, okay? So keep it simple, all right? Look at the Vietnam War and look at all the wars in the last 40 years, all right? In the Vietnam War, they didn't have EOTechs, they didn't have aim points, they didn't have IR lasers, and they still killed thousands of Vietnamese communists, okay? Carlos Hathcock, which was the Marine sniper that killed over 100 Viet Cong, you know, he had a fixed power scope, all right? He had a 10 magnification fixed power scope. He didn't even have a variable power scope. He didn't have bipod. You know, he didn't have a lot of the things that the snipers do now. He had a basic Winchester Model 70 in 30-06, and with that rifle he was able to do a lot of devastation. Okay, same thing with, you know, even the Gulf War and a lot of the conflicts in the 80s and 90s. You had Grenada and Panama. You know, those guys, they had basic M4s and M16s. They didn't have all the tactical crap on their rifles, and they still got the job done. So that just proves to you that those platforms work, and you don't need all these fancy gadgets. Okay, and you don't necessarily need tactical training right away in order to defend yourself. All right, so that's kind of the message I wanted to convey, and that's pretty much it for this video. I'm about to go to the store and get some lumber, and got a little fire going back there. About to go get some lumber and you know, use that lumber for some shooting tests. I'm going to do a penetration test with my 44 Magnum and 416 Elephant gun. This weekend I'm going to shoot a couple of 2x8 lumbers and see how many 2x8s it can go through. So check that out. This weekend I'll be uploading that. So that's pretty much it, guys. Take care. God bless. Don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.